Welcome to the Three River Valley series for Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. We're picking up on the 16th of February 1940, and we've had a little bit of a rough winter with respect to population. If I come into here and we push this back to, I think it's the beginning of December, what you'll see is the population started to drop a bit, and a lot of that was due to some quite serious death spikes. And I mean, the escapees are under good control, and I think, yeah, it's the birth rate dropped quite dramatically, but we can see we're still getting quite a lot of deaths at the moment, or that ran over that period. And the reason is health, I'm pretty sure, because if I come into here and show you that we got the health down in this block here is at 55%. This is at 67%. The health is pretty good up the top, and I think that comes down to a mixture of alcohol and pollution. I'll show you the alcohol first. You can see that we've got fairly high. We've got 13% alcohol addiction here and 9%, 7%. It kind of drops off a little bit down there. Then of course the real nasty stuff is the pollution. I kind of try and get out far enough so you can see the dots. You can see we've got a lot of pollution there because of course in the winter everything is working that little bit harder, and the pollution seems to spread in winter. So you can see this whole bottom end of the town gets covered, and I think the source is very much this whole grain bakery here. I don't think we're getting that much pollution from, let's see. Oops, missed it. Yeah, we've got a power supply problem again. I seem to be getting this fluctuating power supply issue as well. I don't think that's actually helped the situation. I really do need to stabilize my power supply. You can see we are getting some power pollution from the heating plant as well. So I would like to shut this bakery down because this bakery is now ready to go. But again, we're having a little bit of an inconsistent supply of food into here, but you can see we've got 20 odd tons at the moment, which is pretty good compared to here where we got 13 tons. So what I'm going to do is wait for the snow to go and then turn off the supply of crops to this area here, and then we'll just let this run down. But what I'll have to do is be very careful to make sure that I get the food supply into here. Now another thing that happened during the winter is we've now completed the cold store here. See, we've now got 23 tons of meat in here, which is pretty good, because what I've noticed is now I've got a cold store and we've got this distribution office. There's only 2 trucks coming round picking up the meat from here. We're keeping these because I've got 3 of these hunting lodges. If I show you here, we've got 3 hunting lodges, which means we're producing 1.5 tons of meat a day at the moment from food and alcohol. Means they're pretty efficient. And of course what's happening now is because their small output stores don't fill up quite so quickly as like they do here, because they can get the trucks around to pick up the crops, well, especially when it's not full of winter. And so what that means is that these are working all the time. Now another thing that happened, and if you watched the previous videos, you'll be aware that I said that my aggregate store burnt down there, and I built this technical office here to keep the road clear. And guess what? This caught fire again this winter, so the game's got a bit of a fixation. I think in the last year I've had about 4 fires, and one of those fires is up here. All the rest of the fires were in town and were easily dealt with. So the game has a bit of a fixation up in this area. Now I'm just letting the game, I'm just going to speed the game up because I need to get rid of the snow for what we want to do in this part. Because in this part I want to do 2 things. I want to start work on putting together some of these, my camp here, and also a bit there. And the other thing also we're going to be doing is quite a lot of planning. I think everything up here now is, oh no, we still need to finish off this wind turbine. So we just got the 2 jobs here. I think everything else is built over there. Right, the snow's starting to go, so I'm gonna drop the game down. I would like to get this built so we can get the gravel down here, so the trucks won't have to haul all the way up the hill again. We also got the water supply up and running, and it's now filling up this tower. Although again, I think we've got an intermittent power supply, so we're going to need to get a power generator going. But the idea is that this will fill up this water tower. Now, I did get a comment about not building sufficient water supply, and I'm okay with that, because when I'm starting out on a new town like this, and I'm not going to be able to build it up quickly, and may have issues with the workforce, because one of the problems we're going to get is bringing workforce down into this area so that we can build the town up. I do have a preference towards these small water wells, and the way I'm thinking is that if I show you here, is we click on there, we got another input here. So if I need more water, what I'll do is I'll put another small water well in, or alternatively, if the population's built up big enough, I'll put a large water well in then that will keep which can then supply even more consistent supply of water to it. That is probably a good segue into saying a big thank you for your comments and feedback. You guys give me a lot to think about, and one of the drivers of this video is going to be a question I been getting quite regularly is why have I not connected up to this area to railway. Well, in this part I am going to connect up, and apologies in advance that there may be a lot of numbers and reasons bouncing around as I do this, because what your comments have made me rethink, and also I started thinking about how I was going to build the railways, and then a number of issues came up related to realistic mode, and then I thought, well, you know, now I also got a comment about whether I could connect the concrete plant, which is here. If we go below ground, I put this fresh water supply in here, and so I did get a comment about the whether I could connect up a sewage outfall there. And the game's a bit antisocial like this, in the sense that you can't mix pipe types. So you can't run a sewage pipe into a freshwater inlet. But there is a water treatment plant. It's a mod. We come to, no, sewage treatment plant, not water treatment plant. I've got to make sure. Where is it? Sewage treatment. There's this mod here. Apologies, I can't remember who actually made it. I put it out and show it to you. Now this is totally different, because you can see here what this does is it takes sewage in and puts fresh water out. The only unfortunate thing is that, but there's a bit of an inconsistency, because it says it takes out 30 cubic meters of top wastewater and turns out 300 cubic meters of ordinary water. But I think that should be 300 in, 300 out. But this doesn't actually need any chemicals or anything. So I'm not, again, I haven't really got round to building this, because simply because I wonder whether there is a chemical requirement in there, but it's not documented, and also it doesn't say the quality of the water out. But what I do have plans for is that if we get to an area where we're working with big industry and the economy is rolling forward, what I might do is actually connect that up in a way that we can possibly have a contingency to see whether we do get fresh water out of it, or partially fresh water out of it. Just remembered something, sorry, we're going to have to go back up to here. And because the other problem I've had during the winter is that this has had surges in it. So what I'm thinking is that, just press here, I would like to start building this sewage line, but what I want to do is build it back this way. I suppose we could. How much is this going to cost me? It's not that bad. So I think what we'll do is we'll just put that on there. Now we can get down to this area here. What I might have to do is pause the game eventually, because we're going to be focusing a lot on this area, and I always get a bit worried when the game's running. Oh, sorry, again, apologies. I did get a bit bored the other day. So what I did is I came up here, and I was kind of thinking about the road system up here. What I kind of thought about was maybe building well, what I've done is we got a road out here, which is still being built. I think the guys are working on this area here to the coal mine. We've got a nice big long gravel road out here. I'm quite happy just to let them troll along here. But the main thing on what I actually did is I kind of put together this highway here. Just again, it's a little bit of an experiment because I just wanted to see whether we could build a highway here. And we've got a feeder road coming down into here, which will connect to a city that will be there. I put this in so that we can go out that way towards the northern border up here, because that's going to be my second rail connection point. And this one runs in this way because what I'm kind of starting to think is we're going to put in a major gravel production area here. But I also like the idea possibly of maybe putting in some construction industry here. The alternative is that we put the construction industry up here near the coal mine so that we can get coal for the cement works and the brickworks. The problem's going to be is the disposal of water and things like that. So, and this is the reason why I've put this roundabout in here, so that if we're going to ship goods across the map from gravel and stuff like that, we'll have this connection here. And also eventually we'll have rail lines in here, and that is a good segue into what we're going to be doing down to here. But first thing off first, I want to do is we're going to come into here, and I'm just going to, oh, we nearly finished this thing. So hopefully that will get done. Actually, we're just going to pop that to high priority so I can get it done. And what I'm going to do is put in some of these buildings now. Let's see which ones they are. I've got a clothes shop, school. I think the food shop's on this side. Now, I did get a question about whether it's worth building these, but I think we'll just put those in there. And rather than and not just spending time building these buildings, the reason I'm doing this is, one, it's an experiment, but two, if you look at this, these just need 11 days of workers. So in theory, what should happen is that when the game decides to send a work crew down here, what these buildings should get all built very quickly, and even the ones that need wood and steel require very small amounts. So I'm hoping that all this could be built by the end of this year, and then we can start moving people in. I mean, there are some buildings which I've decided that I will build, like we're going to need to build the water treatment plant here, and also the fire station. I did put a fire station up here, but I've taken it down. I think there's going to be more advantage in actually just building the fire station here. Because, well, it's a fire station and it's going to come in that direction. Right, I've kind of prevaricated enough, and now it's time to start looking at this area. Now, why have I changed my mind? Because some of you guys might feel a bit aggrieved. I apologise this when I said that I didn't want to build any rail tracks into here. I'm still had a mixed feeling, and I think if I wasn't playing realistic mode, I would still stick to my original plan, which was to have a rail logistics hub just over here. One, because there's a lot more flat land to build the logistics hub into. And two, it would mean that I would get oops, don't want that. I'd have the direct run to the border where we're going to have to buy the trains. But I've been thinking about the actual other dilemma with realistic mode, which is how the heck do you build the tracks? And then that led on to what type of tracks I want to build, and a whole raft of other issues. So I'm going to try and work through this in logical order so that what I'm doing is makes sense. The first thing I'm going to explain a little bit about realistics mode, and the fact that what we got to do is actually bring in a rail construction train. Now if we come up to here to the border, we come into here, just let the game run. I don't know why I keep pausing it. I think it's habit because I'm in design mode. What you see, there's a tab in here called disassembled, and what we've got here is actually the the trains or construction trains that we've got here. I think they're all construction trains. It's a bit, got to be a little bit careful. We may have to check the diesel trains, but we haven't got any diesel trains. And I'm sure some of you noticed my accidental mistake there in the fact that that is not a, it doesn't have a rail track to it. So if we come down to here, what you'll find is that we've got diesel locomotives. But if you get the disassembled now, so what you can do here is a comparison. You can see what we've got here is a mixture of diesel trains and coal-fired. This SY1000 is at, and the N704 and all these trains are actually mods that can run on coal, but I'm not going to complicate things anymore. So that means all these vehicles here are rail construction trains, and to get them from the customs post, because we, even if we use this one, we can't build any track, or because we'd have to connect in the construction office. What you've got to do is actually put those disassembled components onto a open hole and ship it to the construction office so you can start building trains. But as I've illustrated here, but to get actual trains, you've got to build a connection to a border post so you can buy the trains, and then those trains have to be then picked up and then moved to a depot so that you can allocate them to routes. So it's a little bit of an involved process in getting your railway started in realistic mode, especially when you're a little bit away from the border. So that comes into my change of heart and my reconsideration of what I want to do, because it suddenly occurred to me that if I put a rail construction office over here, we'll be getting the workforce out. So what I'm thinking is to actually have a rail construction office here. And as soon as I made that decision, then it makes sense to start using the resources that are in this area to actually ship some of the items around the map. And I've also had another comment, and somebody also said that I could get a lot more out of this coal mine. Now, this coal mine is only, I think it's 72% efficient, if I remember correctly. Now, this isn't going to produce enough coal to drive a big steel industry. It's only going to drive a small steel industry, possibly. But what it could be used for is domestic coal. So I did a bit of a calculation. And just to illustrate it, if I come in here, if I look at over the coal mine, you'll see that it says that maximum production, each worker can produce 4.2 tons of coal ore. And I multiplied that by 220. So the potential maximum output from this coal mine is 924 tons of coal ore. Now, this is 72% efficient. So in theory, the maximum output from this coal mine with all 220 workers is 665 tons of coal ore. Now, coal ore is processed at a ratio of 2:1. That means that my maximum output of coal from this coal ore processing price becomes to say 332 tons of coal. Now, if you actually look at this, that processes 210 tons of coal, and as somebody said quite some time ago, that I should have an extra coal processing plant in here. And as I said, with my original plan, this would have produced enough coal to supply what I wanted here. But so what I've done is I put a second coal processing plant in here. I want to whiz back here and just see. No, we haven't built anything just here yet because well, we are running on slow. So the idea is that while this coal mine won't run a major industry, it could run a minor industry, possibly a steel mill. But again, the problem is going to be hauling the iron ore all the way down from the border post. So what I'm thinking is to use this to supply domestic coal to any city I built around this area here. So this will be a domestic coal supply system, not a industrial supply system. And then so that now leads on to what I want to build in this area. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in, want a train loading. Oops, wow, don't want that. Want this. I want a train aggregate loading. Now I have looked at the contours on this map, and doing it this way is going to cause a problem. But I think I can get away with putting it, say, down here. I want to leave it enough space because I've got another idea. I could put it there, but I feel it's a bit cramped. So plus the fact that rail's going to be expensive, so the closer I can get the track down to this area, the better. You know, rail track is more expensive than, say, building conveyors. So what we're going to do is put you there, and now it's going to be a bit of a twisty turny thing here because we got our large aggregate store here, which means that the actual track, the conveyor from here needs to go down to there. Let's turn that off a bit, and I'm hoping that actually I've just had an idea. I haven't used these yet, and I'm just wondering, because of course we got this new addition now. That's going to come into there. What I'm thinking, I think we can go the opposite way, can't we? No, I'm sure this has got other options. That's better, because this has got a higher kind of drop-off point. I'd like to put it. Oh, come on, you can do it, game. You can do it. Just make sure that's. We can then put that there. I can go there. And what suddenly occurred to me is that I could get a. If we go back to here. Yeah, look at that. Because we can then use this as a truck loading point to ship coal up the map. I think I don't really want coal on that point there. So just accept that. Yeah, that's the first time I've built one of these. Now, the next thing I want to do is that because we're going to get a nice supply of gravel down to here, I'm starting to think, well, actually what I do need here is a construction office. Okay. Apologies for the digressions, guys, but this is the way the game's played. Thinking, I think 8 aggregate trucks operating in this area should be enough. Maybe we could put the pickup point. So get that done, and again we'll have to get the road crew on it. Get that built in there. And what we'll do is then we can move the aggregate trucks down to here, dumpers, and get that done. Now, what I want to do over here is we're going to put a small aggregate. That's on the wrong side. Okay, this may be a bit of a problem. Oh, thank you. Back to here. Gonna flip it the other way. What I want to do is put you in about there. Actually, no, change the plan again. I'm going to put you in about. But I don't want the conveyor. Put you about there. And then what we'll do is we'll put a normal tower in here. Conveyor. I'm going to put you about there. Like that. And then ideally that truck unloading. Oh. Okay, so that's too low. So what we might have to do is Let's put in a little like that. Getting a bit close to the town centre, but I think we'll be okay. And then we'll put another there. And just, oh, you can do it. Hook that round to there. I want to put a reasonable amount of road here in case the trucks actually queue up. So what that means is what we got now is we've got a, so we'll get the coal will come from here, and I've got gravel. So that means if I want to ship gravel around the map, I can do it this way. But it also means that I can then put in the rail construction office. Where is it? Put the get that way. Put you about there. Now this rail construction office, I mean, technically it really doesn't need a gravel store, but I think if we got one supply line, it'd make difference there. But you can see it can also store 250 tons of steel, 225 tons of prefabs, 200 tons of bricks, 250 tons of boards. Now remember that this needs to be split 4 ways, but I think considering the scale of what we're going to be building here, I think that will be, we can get that in there. Yeah, look at that. And we can, I think I might build an asphalt road here. There. So we've now got a, well, we will when we finish. This technically doesn't need anything sophisticated, so that can go to there. So we've now got an aggregate export problem path, and we've also got a rail construction office. Now the other thing I'm thinking of is an open store, which we can ship out with as well, because we've got prefabs over here, but it's getting a little bit congested. Now, the next big question, I'm just going to get rid of this bit of road here because the track's going to come through here. Now, the next big question is track type. Now, as I've already kind of rambled on a bit, we've only got diesel trains at the moment. Now, the first electric trains don't appear until the mid to late 1950s, and that's even with modded trains. But long term, I would like to have electric trains. Now, the problem is with realistic mode is that there's no longer any highlight, press the button and upgrade your tracks. And so what I'm thinking is that I don't know whether we could be even in the 1950s or close to the 1950s by the time I've made the connection out through here, because we've got to build some bridges, and made the connection to the border, because we've got quite a long way to get to the border. So I'm going to take a bit of a chance here now, and we're going to build electrified track, even though we may have to actually run diesel trains on it. So we have a bit of a hybrid system. And then that leads into the next problem, which is this river crossing. Now, if I pull the map up really large, what you see is we've got one connection to the Soviet Union up here. We've got one connection to NATO here. We've got the potential to open up a connection to the NATO this way. Now, the question is, do I block this river off by building a low bridge? Will I need to, because if I'm going to export stuff, most of my heavy industry is going to be in the north. Now, the next point relates to realistic mode, is that if for some reason I decide to build a port down here, and I decide to use a Soviet ship, that means that before that ship can actually be used, it's going to start up here and sail all the way down through here to get to the port where I can set the route up. Unless I build a port here, or port, you know, when I mean port, I'm talking about the what's it? The actual ship dock, not the actual port. This is the place where you purchase ships. And of course, when you buy a ship, it won't appear inside of the ship dock. What it will do is it will appear on the edge of the map and then sail all the way across the map. So if I put a ship dock up here, I could then set routes up, and then it would take a little while for the route to get set up. So what I'm thinking is that rather than, we could then get a bridge across the Narrows here, but if we don't go elevated, it would be a bit cheaper to build. Oh, there's so many things to think about. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bridge in first. I'd like to, again, you've got to think long term. Now, most of these bridges are, this one's a truss bridge. I think what we're going to do is we're just going to go across like that. That needs 164 tons of steel. Let's see which is the, and this is the truss bridge. This is the one with 140. The cheap one is 135 tons of steel. There's no real benefit from that, is there? And then we've got, I think this is my favorite bridge, 227 tons of steel. Okay, let's see what this one is. This is 188. So in some ways, because of course the bridge has to be electrified, because I don't want to go back and upgrade it later on. My instinct is to build that across. If we get a bit more cheapskate, and this is 148 across here. This is 165. It's, yeah, I mean, if you add on the cost of the extra track, there's no saving in that. So we're going to put a bridge across like that. Now, the next question is, do I put 2 bridges in, or do I work with 1 bridge? Because we could kind of come in. I'm going to make some space here. Right, we're going to put a single track in first up to the aggregate store. See if we can get this. And I want to come out fairly wide like this, for a reason which will become apparent. Right. So it's a difficult call. Everything in me is screaming 2 bridges, but how much traffic are we going to get up here? Because I could, what side is this on? We come in this side. See, I could put a track in. Why is this not? Sometimes the snapping can be a little bit. So I don't want it too close. Because the trouble is, if you get it too close, you can't use signals. The signal thing, signaling process gets a little bit icky. Right, so we're going to put in you there. I'm going to run you down there. And then we're going to run you into there. And then on this side we'll have a track coming out like that. And then we'll have do it this way. Sometimes it's easier just to come back the other way like that. And then we'll just have a single bridge here, but what we'll have to have is lights on each side. So we got this track coming up here. Now, the next thing you need to consider with realistic mode, this is very important, is the lengths of trains that you're going to be using. Now, a distribution office, let me think, I've got to remember this, will allow you to run trains up to, I think, a maximum length of 153 meters long. And to put that into context, that is a train with about 6 or 7 cars on it, depending on the type, because the cars are different lengths. Now, when you're planning routes with respect to the crossovers, because we're going to put a crossover here, is that what you've got to do is you've got to measure the length of the station. Whoops, oh, go away. So this station is 100 and things. So if you're going to run a train that could be up to 153 meters long, you've got to have at the length of the station plus a bit extra. Remember, you've got to put the signals in. So what you're looking at is something that needs to have space. So what you're looking at is a crossover somewhere about, which means the train can come in here. Now, for most stations, this is not a problem. The one you've got to watch is, if we come to here, is the, where's the fueling, what we call it, transport thingy. Fuel offloading, loading. This is the one that can catch you out. If I put it there, you see it's half the length of the aggregate station. But if you happen to have a rail distribution office, and that sends out a train of 153, if you say, you, for example, you put a station there and the crossover is that close, what will happen is the train will come in and it won't be able to turn around. This is the thing you've got to consider. Now, so the next thing I want to do is try to guesstimate how far down I want to come from there. Oh, I wish there was a way that you, every time you open this, it kind of cleared. So what we're looking at is, say, down to about there. So what we're looking at is, now this truck, this is the construction one. So we don't actually need power to this because it, all construction trains are diesels. And this is the, oh, thank you, game. This is the reason why I'm actually laying the track here, because what we can do is run into there. I know it's a bit extravagant with the track laying here, but I just want to make sure that this will, and what we'll do is we'll come up to about there, just lay that connection in like that. I mean, it swings and roundabouts with respect to what's going on. So we've now got that connection there, and I'm just going to go over. You can see here how these guys are now starting to put together some bits and pieces. We got a sewage disposal there. So we got this being built. There's no good set. I'm not sure that we can get some meat disposal down here. I think we'll just set that up just this, so these guys will start loading up the stuff. And whereas this is the one that, I think this is the one that dispenses meat. Luckily in this game, food doesn't spoil, and we'll just send meat down here 100%. And because we've got no closed delivery, and the closed trucks, food trucks, got to come even further because I can't remember which food truck. Highview food, where are you? Oh, you are actually there. Okay, my mistake. I thought these guys weren't dispensing, they're only dispensing meat. So what we got to do now is, oh, so I didn't mean to need to come down here. We'll just turn that off, and we'll just fill that up with food and meat. Anyway, back to here, and we got a bit more space here. But of course, one thing we got to do now, and this is the reason why I kind of put a lot of space up here, is that you've got a power station up there. So the next, so what I'm going to do now is we're just going to remove a section of track. We're going to put a, what I'm going to do is put a power connector in. Because we've got to put power into, oops, too steep an incline, haha. It means we just got to trim that back a little bit, because this is, what's happened is that this has dropped. Oh, you can do it, game. Yes, you can. So we've now got a power connector in. Now, so that gives us that bit there, but the other thing I want to do now is just put in a an open store so that we can ship out bricks and prefabs and anything across the map. And plus also eventually we may want to bring stuff back in. In fact, I'm just thinking maybe there's scope here for 2 types of storage. I think it's this one, isn't it, what we're looking at? This, I think maybe we'll put one of these in, maybe about here. Okay, the game's I know what's happened is that the game scuppered me a little bit, because all we've got left now is a crane. We've got no excavators down here because the excavators have wandered off somewhere, and that's kind of scuppered me a little bit. See if I can get this in with green. So my design decision is going to be, right, we could put it we can put it there. I can work in we can adjust these roads if necessary, and then now again, just to give you the idea of the distance measuring thingy bob, length of this station is 86. So if we come to 160, it would be about there. That gives a little bit of a problem in the sense that if we bear in mind we'll have a signal there, that's 120. Now, one thing about when you bring stuff into stations like this, you don't normally get the long trains. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to put a crossover. Turn. Going to be a pain in the neck. Okay, well, what's happened is that it doesn't like this line here, so we're going to have to come out like this. Okay, we have to trim back this here, which will take it all out. Wait, cut it out. I think we'll put the crossover in first. It's going to be a bit shorter than I'd like, but we're not going to export vast amounts of stuff. Maybe we'll put you in like that, and then we can a road down to there. And of course what we can do then is get the storage. This is going to get a bit, of course, with the open store we could put a small open store in, like possibly like that. It's not going to we could come in from above like that with the open store, and then we could put a warehouse. That's the warehouse. That's not going to let me build it. Okay. Well, we can go with the open store here, but I'll have to put the warehouse in when I get access to an excavator again. We can run that road through to about there. And if push comes to shove, we can also put a meat store in here as well for exports. So what we have is this. So what we get is a bit of a distribution center. We've got a power center, which we've got to connect up as well. I think we're getting gravel. In fact, what I could do is change this. Queue up to there, and then maybe we can angle that road in like that. And I think that's the way I'm going to go. I'm still a bit twitchy about this bridge. What do you think, guys? 1 bridge or 2 bridges? I don't think we're going to get a lot of traffic up here. The main one is it. Oh, and the other thing also, some of you may think, well, he's caught himself out here because the construction trains can't build these tracks. Well, as the metro update, construction trains will turn round as long as there's enough track built this way for them to turn round in and go back. So what you've got to do is build this track down here, or far enough away so there's plenty of track for the train to turn round in. Don't put any signals on it, because there's got to be enough space between two signals. And then if you tell the construction train to build this, they will come down here, turn around and go back up that way. Anyway, we're going to highlight the track. So that's that done. Oops, for some reason I've got the game on pause again. So we've now got a railway in there. If necessary, I'll rework this. I'll just see how it goes. How are we doing over here? This is what this guy's doing. He's building these guys are building the gravel roads. That's why I've got no excavators. I think what's going to happen is that these aren't going to do their stuff until such time as everything here has been built. So I'm just going to have to let the game catch up. So I think what we will do now I don't have that much left on this part, but what we could do now, I think I'll leave running the track up to here just to give you a broad idea of what I want to do. Is we're going to have to bring this in. We're going to have a triangular connection here because we're going to want the train run this way. Well, I will probably rip up all the track that's on the map. We're going to need to bring a rail line through here, all the way up through here, which is going to take a long time to build. I'm going to need another diamond kind of connector about here, because we're going to need to try and get some railway track up through here, because up here we've got iron, and of course if we can get iron, it would be pretty good to get a steel industry going. The next thing I need to think about is what we call it, the depot. Of course, the other thing I've forgotten about is the diesel. I think at the moment I'm not going to put a diesel connector in, just in case that this takes so long to build that we might be pushing the 1950s. So it might be a case of building track and then waiting for the technology to catch up with the trains. So we may not actually have an operational rail network into the 1950s. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I could always put in something here. Well, the trouble with a fuel supply is that the train needs to be able to get in and out both directions, which means you've either got to try to put a connection up. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll put it over here, but then they won't be able to deliver the fuel. I think I'm just going to leave that floating just for the moment. So there's not enough tutors. How's the population? Population's kind of got a bit. So we're still getting more deaths than. A little bit worrying. Where I just think the population is just unhealthy now because of the alcohol. I think we can afford. I think we may need to dry the town out a bit because we're not. See, the health is just atrocious. I think I should do. I need to do what I was talking about. What is? We're gonna need to shut this place down. So high view food store. We need to. Remove you. I think we've got to go for it. I think it could cause a catastrophic failure, but I don't see any other way. Remove you and remove you. High view food store. And what we're going to do is he's going to pull in from there, isn't he? I don't think that's going to work, so we're going to have to go for it. think what we're going to have to do is clear this. I need some guaranteed workers in here. Only got 30 workers in here, and we've got a workforce of 15. Right. You guys 100% in there working. It's the alcohol that's causing the problem. The alcohol level. Yeah, you got 18% alcohol here. Got too many drunks. 24% alcohol. But the health here is good. I think it is the pollution from here that's causing the problem, because it's working a lot harder. And oh, new vehicle available. Now this is quite interesting. This is a KB2. Now somebody actually posted a comment asking about military vehicles, and I think it comes under personal cars, believe it or not. But what I think this is how the creators get round the problem of military vehicles. You can see that what we've got here is a T-34 tank, a T-26. I think that's an armored car, and what we got here is other various military vehicles. So if you really want to build military vehicles to see them running around the map, this is the way to do it, guys. But truthfully, given their road speeds, from the perspective of personal vehicles, I suppose you could say that they're eccentrics who really want this. 54 kilometers an hour. Maybe later in the game, when I can afford to not take too many risks, maybe what we'll do is we'll possibly have a bit of fun and get some personal cars where they can drive around in tanks and things like that. But it's a little bit icky. Yeah, I think if we get rid of that pollution, the pollution is improving a little bit. Let me just zoom out a little bit so you guys can see. Yeah, we've still got a little bit of pollution there, but I think that's still coming from the food factory. So I think hopefully we're just going to tip that over the edge. The other option, I mean, I don't think there's no complaints about them not being able to get to hospital. Oh no, 2 citizens were unable to get to hospital. Okay, we've got a problem with clinics. Right. I missed that one. Apologies. We're going to need to put a clinic in. Hospital. The question is, where can I put a hospital in? Yeah, that got past me completely. We're going to need something that's going to be a little bit bigger. The trouble is, where am I going to put it? We could put it just there, or it's a little bit far out of town. I mean, the other option is that I put in a really small medical office, something like that. But that might kind of, that's got no water connection. It's almost like I need a water supply down here, don't I? Oh, we could just get it on this edge here. How many? Got 1 vehicle. Right, as a temporary fix, we're gonna put a medical office just in there. Just to get that built. Yeah, that's my fail there. I didn't spot that we've got maybe I need to put the number of medical staff up as well. Yeah, there's people not being treated. That's a bit of a problem. Yeah, hopefully that will make people a bit healthier as well. I think this is an example of how this game can just get away from you. I'm just going to put the on that. Actually, where's my buses? My bunny buses. I think we'll put you on there as well. Guys, I'm aware that I'm starting to run out of time. And right, we've now got, see, this is what I was getting at, that so if we come in here, we've got one building there. What have we got here? Got the hospital, the Keynote Cinema. Oh, this is accommodation. I'm not ready for the accommodation yet. This is accommodation as well. Right, so I think what we're going to do is put that in, that in. I think we need to work on the water purification plant and the fire station now. So, because we can't move those in until we got that built. How's the water tower? The water tower is full. We're probably going to need a technical office down here for snow. Right. Gravel. Do we have liftoff? It does help if one puts gondolas in. Okay, so maybe that will be what we need to do to finish off. Right, I did buy one. And now we are going to have a little bit of a leap in the dark here now. What vehicle do we need to carry this? It says that this can carry it, which is what's this? It's can transport this vehicle. Whatever that is, it's got to be an open hole. So what we're gonna have to do is just go into there. I'm gonna buy it because I'm gonna use open holes anyway. So there's a 3N something or other. There it is there. If I just pick that up. Gonna get you to run to there. Well, we're going to need more than one of these. So what's this? This is a heavy aggregate. So we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. Oh, and of course it's got to go to the gas station. I'll be honest, while this truck's running around, I really would like to see an arms industry added to the game, but I've got a feeling that something like that will be post the full release, because of course the devs will want to keep some things in reserve to keep the game interesting after they've done the full release. So I think there's possibility that we may have an arms industry sometime in the future. So what we've got to do now is we've got to... No, I don't want a line. I just want a normal route, please. It's only going to be a temporary route. Right, you're going to come in there. You've got to pick up a vehicle. And then you're going to have to deliver it to an unload. Always make sure you click unload. And then just very quickly go here. Now, I've never ever done this, so... Okay, we're just going to follow it. Oops. You can see the heavy truck thing or carrier in the back of it. It's a little bit big for the truck, really, but it'll do the job. So he's now delivered what we call it to there. Now what we got to do now is it should... Of course I told it not to load gravel, so he's going to go all the way down there and back again. And I think he's got to unload gravel as well. My track record with cableways is normally with passengers. This is... I think, to be honest, I think this is the first time I've actually set up a mechanical trackway for delivering goods. I say I've only ever used them for moving passengers because they are a very good way of getting people in there. So we're just going to wait here and see if we can see if this will work. If it's not, it's going to be a very expensive investment. We do have a pile of gravel there, so this is very much. Have you got gravel on board? No. So why are you not building without power? That because this isn't finished. It's just not going to load until this is finished. What is up with this building? It's high priority. Are you not allocated to it? Why are you not allocated to this? What happened there? High Valley buses. Yeah, High Valley buses. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but I don't think we're going to get any gravel delivered until we've got that power supply built. Anyway, guys, this is where I'm going to leave it. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you found it interesting. And until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.